What's up, Daily Fab Gamers? Thank you so much for watching my stream. Before you jump into this red-hot action, let's review the rules. Don't be a dick. This should go without saying, but better safe than sorry. Chat with me. You know that I can talk at my computer for hours, but it's more fun when my computer talks back. And let's have a good time. I don't mind getting sweaty, but we can have fun while we do it. Use the chat command deck for a link to the list I'm playing here. It's also in the video description. Some of these decks are sick, and you might want to play them in real life. In that case, let me refer you to Hemel from the Bazaar. It's never been more affordable to play in the flesh and blood. Players have been buying the cards they need from Hemel for years. I started buying from him in 2023 and have never found a better deal. The Bazaar's prices are the lowest for singles, full sets, and class sets, including new releases. Super Slam singles and more are available now and ship both domestically and internationally. Use the command Hemel for contact info, then reach out to see what he can do for you. Now settle in and get cozy because the stream begins now. Good morning, everyone. It's me, Lupinefiasco. As you can see, I made an overlay and a chatting where you can see my whole face, and it doesn't work super well with the green screen. So maybe I'll work on that. Maybe I won't. Maybe we'll just leave it like this. But hello, happy Monday. I haven't seen you all in like 2 weeks. I took some time off for the holidays. I needed a break from Fab just generally, not like a total disconnect. I was still on Discord and brewing and engaging with the game in some way, but playing Syndra like broke me. I hate that deck so much. It's so boring. It's so just not engaging as someone who came from Aurora. Good morning, Rose. Like, you could make an argument, sure, that like, well, Aurora was just, she wasn't super, she was obviously overtuned, and that's why she was fun, and all this, and like, but there were so many decision points with Aurora on how to play her well, and then Syndra is just like, draw 4 cards, play 4 cards, draw 4 cards, play 4 cards, over and over. I hated that deck, so I needed a break, which I took over the last 2 weeks, which is why I wasn't streaming, but now I'm back. It's RTN season. I played KO at my RTN this last Saturday. I top 8'd. It was as far as I got. Unfortunately, 1 win short of the Nats qualification that we're all looking for here. So what am I doing on stream today? Well, unfortunately, I'm not going to be playing KO. My day job calls at 9. So I only have an hour, which is enough time for like 2 games. And I wanted to talk about my RTN anyway. So we're going to try something new, which is I'll walk you, recap my RTN, give you the breakdown of my rounds and my takeaways and all that, and then use Fablazing data and Fabry to actually make the changes that I'm going to implement in RTN week 2. So I get, if you're interested, if this is the sort of thing that you care about, this is like a good little behind the scenes on what my deck iteration process looks like going between weeks. I took 2 weeks off. I haven't really been testing. I haven't played KO really competitively at all for, since heavy hitters. So there's not been a lot of iterating on the deck, and I think there needs to be, especially based on the current meta and what I lost to on Saturday. So and we'll just get into it. Let's see, now you can see my other cool little overlay here that I made. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my KO list. The chat window is going to make this not as good as I thought it would be, so we'll just make that smaller. Yeah, so this was the list that I brought. Like I said, KO Armed and Dangerous. I also missed out on my top 8 because of a draw to Marionette. Well, I'll give it. This is the deck that I brought. 49 card main board with tech pieces. The sideboarding here I made intentionally simple. Because I'm presenting 49 cards, in the main I need to bring in 11, which means that I am always bringing in 3 blues, which are either 3 Tear Limb from Limbs or 1 Reckless Swing and 2 Wrecker Romps. There's never a matchup where I am mixing and matching. There is at no point am I bringing in 4 blues or 1 Reckless Swing, 2 Tear Limb from Limbs, or 2 Wrecker Romps and 1 Tear Limb from... It's always either 3 Tear Limbs or Wrecker Romp and Reckless Swing. And then, because you are now at 52 cards, you bring in 1 set of the 2s and 2 sets of the 3s. Contextual on the matchup, but also like what leg equipment are you playing? If you're playing Savage Feast, you are also playing Beaten Trackers. If you're playing Massacre, you are also playing Scabskin Leathers. But outside of that, it's like, is it an aggro race? You're playing Savage Feast. Is it a defensive deck? You're playing Massacre. Do they have D-Reacts? You're playing Send Packing. Do they not have D-Reacts? You're playing Pulping. Do they have big attacks? You're playing Reckless Stampede. Or, maybe not because they have big attacks and you're not sure that you'll win the clash. The Guardian matchups get a little weirder as far as what you're sideboarding. Are they playing small attacks? You play, or no attacks. In the case of Kasai, you're playing Strongest Survive. So the sideboarding was intentionally easy. The real toss-up for me was the Skullhorn Null Rune Hood combo. Previously, I had been playing Crown of Providence instead of Null Rune Hood for Florian, and then Skullhorn for Verdance, and I didn't know how much I have to respect Earth going into my local scene. I think generally over the meta, over the world, if I was going to a calling, I wouldn't respect Earth very much, but locally we had a ton of Verdance and Florian in our last ProQuest season, and I didn't know how much of that was going to carry over into RTN. So I wanted to respect Verdance, just period. I didn't think I needed to respect Florian anymore, but I did want to respect Vincent because locally, Sacramento is very close to Reno. We have Reno players show up at our RTNs. There are a couple good Vincent players in the Reno area, so I wanted AB1 in some regard. But I was never going to bring AB3 for Verdance. If I ran into one, I figured AB2 plus Fiendal Spring Tunic means that I can turn a blue and a Tunic counter into 4 health, which is fine. And against Verdance anyway, she's going to be attacking. I would like to block. I will get value out of my blocking armor, so I'm not going to replace my gloves or my legs with AB1. So let's just put everything in the head slot, right? AB1, AB2 in the head slot. I never played against a Vincent or a Verdance. In fact, there was only one Vincent and only one Verdance out of 48 players. So probably not the best call. I also didn't run into a Florian, so it isn't like the Crown of Providence would have helped, but as we'll get into as we walk through the data and what I'm considering going into week 2, Crown of Providence might have some other applications. So this is the deck that I brought. There's a link to this in the description of the stream. I think you can also use the data command to bring it up in chat. I hope that I updated that through Nightbot. But at this point, I'm just going to briefly walk you through. Oh no, my chat, you can't see this. Okay, I have to, nope, it's this one. Yes, no, maybe. We're just, there it is. Okay, cool. Well, now I have to remember to do that in all of my setups. See, we're learning. We made improvements, and now we need to get slightly better at doing them. So yeah, I went 5-1 in Swiss. It was a 48-person event. 6 rounds of Swiss, cut to top 8. I went 5-1 in Swiss. I died in top 8. My losses were to Gravy in round 1 and then Kasai in top 8. But I'll walk you through it. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because this isn't the interesting part. I did bring my handy dandy Codex journal with me to the event. you can get your own Codex Journal by using my affiliate link in the video description. And then code Lupine10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. I love my Codex Journal. I use it for all of my paper events because it's really helpful to just remember, like, if something went catastrophically wrong or if I learned something about the matchup, it's really good to just write that down. So I'm going to be referencing this. My round one was against one of my Metal Fab Tokens teammates, France Tan. He was on Gravy Bones. It was sad to do it, get a team kill in round one, but that's the way of it, especially when you're playing locally. You're going to be playing against people you know. He was on Gravy Bones. He won. I thought it was a pretty close game for, I lost, but it didn't feel like it was super doomed. And I think I played as well as I could have. The big reason, we talked about it after, that I lost was I drew 0 Blood Rush Bellow by the time he drew 3 Conqueror of the High Seas. And it isn't that the Conquerors ever did the thing. I never had an arsenal to destroy. When the Conqueror came down, it was more of the conversion, being able to play a 4 or 5 card hand. Good morning, Burst Flames. It was the playing a 4 or 5 card hand that really got me. Just chunking me for damage. If he's keeping 4 cards that are like Murderous Rabble, Conquer the High Seas, Break Chain, Play Rigor, Attack with Rigor, that screwed me up. And I think he did take that line at one point, but it wasn't Rigor. It was Activate Gravy, Play Murderous Rabble, Play Conqueror, Dead Thread, Sawbones attack. It was bad. He was doing gravy things, but we felt like I played it as well as I could have. I was clearing allies. I wasn't wasting damage clearing allies. Like, there were a few lines that I would take, which was like Buckwild Face, Activate Gauntlets, send Mandible Claw for 4 at Swabby. Like, playing around the Fearless Confrontation, not giving up damage by... it isn't like I could have sequenced by putting Gauntlets on Buckwild to send 8 at face and then exact kill Swabby. I did take a risky line at one point of sending exactly 3 at a Sawbones, where I could have gotten blown out by Fearless Confrontation, but he didn't have it, and it let me push damage. Overall, the game was pretty even back and forth. If I had ever seen a Blood Rush, I think I can get there. By the time I saw my first Blood Rush, it was a little too late. I did have exactly 1 out, which was to play the Blood Rush, draw a Pulping and a blue, activate Gauntlets, send Pulping for exact lethal, which I did do. That was the out, and I drew into it, and he had Defense Reaction and Arsenal, activate Gravy, discard Fiddler's Green from hand. So we didn't quite get there. I did feel like I played that one well. I just hit the poor end of variance. I should walk you through, too, what exactly I do for these matchups. There are now matchup guides in this list in the most recent version, so you can track this. This is my list going into week 2. You can track this on your own. But in case any of these cards don't exist anymore, what did I do for Gravy? The Gravy board was bring in Beaten Trackers, Savage Feast, Send Packing, Pulping, Reckless Swing, Double Wrecker Romp. I've not seen those power card turns. The problem with KO, as I'm learning, is we have exactly 1 power card, and if we don't draw Blood Rush, the game gets way harder, which is something I'm considering if I want to keep playing KO, which is, like, is it good to play a deck where you really live and die in tight games based on whether you see 3 of the 60 cards in your deck? The Gravy board being Beaten Trackers and Savage Feast is because I'm treating this like an aggro race. That really is what Gravy has become. It also helps you convert if you need to clear an ally and you don't have Go Again in your hand, but you do have something like a Bear Fangs. You can cheat your action point with Beaten Trackers. But like I said earlier, if I'm bringing Beaten Trackers, I am also bringing Savage Feast. The Intimidate on Massacre isn't really important into Gravy either. 0-1, just go to RKO. I'm really thinking about it. I wish that I had gotten my Nats invite in week 1 so I could just play RKO for the rest of the season. I mean, the deck seems good. I am interested in it. So I'm 0-1. Going into round 2, I pair into a Kasai. My understanding is this is a tough matchup. It was bad in heavy hitters. I think it was better then than it is now, which is weird considering that KO also got better. Like, the problem with Kasai is she has a ton of new support from heavy hitters where she really just had a lot of trouble getting go again. And now she has Unsheathed and Blood Follows Blade and Sharpened Senses. And she is just, where before she really wanted to block 6, Saber Blade Runner Saber, and like slowly accrue copper and wait for the blood on her hands. Now she can just race, which is bad for KO, because KO is going to have his off turns where you don't have the 2 blues to send, 6-3-8, or you discard something wrong or whatever. Kasai also has Valiant Dynamo. She has go again every turn. She's converting very well. So the Kasai matchup is tough. I did win this game, I think off the back of my opponent being a little rusty. I mean, he told me this. He has a kid, so he's not playing Flesh and Blood as much. I am also rusty, not having played a lot of KO recently, but if we're both rusty, that favors me, the proactive deck. I won the die roll, went second. My opening hand was like 3-block blue, Reckless Stampede, Wild Ride, Bear Fangs. So my 4 cards block a total of 3. My opponent opens the turn with this round's on me. So I draw another card, which is another Reckless Stampede. My 5 cards block a total of 3. And my opponent follows that with Spoils of War. So like, this is a big turn that I have to care about. I end the turn, I have blocked with 6 armor. So I still have my flesh bag, but my Beaten Trackers, Savage Sash, and Apex Bonebreaker are basically all done. I blocked with my Wrecker Romp and 2 of the Reckless Stampedes just to get them out of my hand. I didn't take any damage because I got no copper, but this was a trend, as we'll see in the next Kasai game, that, hey, maybe I'm just boarding in too many non-blocks. Okay, is good enough for a top 4, but Gravy's, I mean, all I'm looking for is I'd love to win, but I do need a top 4 at some point. I boarded in Tear Limb from Limb here. My Kasai board, which I think was wrong, which we can get into, was Savage Feast, Beaten Trackers, Tear Limb from Limbs, Reckless Stampede, Strongest Survive. So I feel great about the Strongest Survive and the Reckless Stampede. The Tear Limb from Limbs were great in this game. They performed very well. I think overall, they are not where I want to be against Kasai. I think Kasai is a matchup where we live or die based on Blood Rush Bellow, and we want to have more block potential to live long enough to see the Blood Rush Bellow. So this is, again, and I'm looking at Reckless Stampede too, like in theory, this is a very good card against Kasai because she doesn't play attacks, so she'll never win a clash. But maybe we do just want Send Packing. It blocks 3, it's a yellow in case we don't find a blue to play one of our 2-cost reds. And because Kasai converts 4-card hands so well these days, Send Packing actually stops her from doing something she wants to do. But I won this game off the back of 2 Tear Limb from Limbs. It was basically pseudo Cast Bones. I think my first Tear Limb converted a Show of Strength for like 17 because I also had a Might. The next Tear Limb let me send Mandible Claw into... Oh no, sorry, that's what it was. The first Tear Limb got me 19 because I sent Claw into Show of Strength for 16. The second Tear Limb let me send a 3-card 14 because I had blocked with Vigorous Smash Up, gotten a Vigor, which let me pitch a blue, play Tear Limb, discard a 6 off the top of my deck to play Bear Fangs from Arsenal for 14. So the Tear Limbs were nuts. But I think my opponent's deck was not constructed in a way to really push enough damage to take me off of those lines. And if my opponent is a turn or two faster, like my top 8 Kasai was, I don't have time to put these turns together. Which is why I think Tearlim is probably great against heavy hitters Kasai, not against Super Slam Kasai. I'm really on the fence about Tearlim against Kasai. In theory, it's like having 3 Blood Rush, but you don't have a Reckless, or... That's what I'm saying. Like, Dave, I think in theory it's good. If you have tempo, it's good. But the way you're getting tempo is from Blood Rush Bellow. Like, if I don't draw Blood Rush, I lose this game. So I need to be playing in a way to find Blood Rush. If I find Blood Rush, then Tearlim can be a different blue, and it's fine. But if I don't find Blood Rush, I need to find it, and Tearlim doesn't help me find it. It says I need to take damage so I can return damage, but I don't think that damage is going to win me the game. So we beat the Kasai. We're 1-1 at this point. We go into round 3, which was against Acilio. My Acilio board is Beaten Trackers, Savage Feast, Strongest Survive, Pulping. I'm AB0 into Acilio at this point, which I think is great, especially because my Arcane Barrier lives in my head slot, which is where Scowling Fleshbag is. It's down to how many Blood Follows Blades they find and resolve without us randomly blocking them. I mean, yeah, Blood Follows Blade is just a house of a card, and then depending on how our action points line up, we might not be able to kill the Sellsword. I'll get to that. That was the top 8 Kasai that found Blood Follows Blade. Acilio, because I have Fleshbag, Fleshbag is so good against Acilio because the Acilio has to care about Fleshbag. Aurora, for example, could draw a hand and sequence a turn in such a way that the Fleshbag didn't matter. The Aurora could play at instant speed in response to the Fleshbag trigger to have no cards in hand when the Intimidate trigger happens. Acilio can't do that. On Acilio's combo turn, he has to interact with the Fleshbag in some way. Like Gone in a Flash gets blocked by Fleshbag. Acilio can play out all the instants, return Gone in a Flash, but then the Gone in a Flash is in hand. Like, in some way, you are impacting the combo turn with Fleshbag. And then Beaten Trackers just says Savage Feast gets better. I kind of just rolled over the Acilio through no fault of his own. I drew very well. I had consistent disruption and damage. I won the die roll, chose to go first. I pushed 11 damage on turn 0 because Acilio, I think, had a 3 block and 3 instants, and then Acilio filtered into a Consign to Cosmos. And it just, like, didn't... He chose to send 3 damage instead of block 3, which I think was a fine decision based on how Acilio was trying to win the game. It just meant that he's starting the game at 25. I didn't have an arsenal, but I'm still very far ahead at this point. And then from there, just found disruption, right? Found some Strongest Survives. I guess that was the only thing I found, because that's my only disruptive card in the deck. Everything else is just damage. But I found early Strongest Survives. Acilio went for an early combo turn. I had the Fleshbag. I had also Strongest Survived on the previous turn. So Acilio can't really get there on the combo turn. Puts me to, I don't know, 18. And then I started finding consistent damage. I think the Acilio low rolled a bit. There were 2 turns where his big finisher was pitch 2 reds for Volsar Comet Storm, which is true damage against a hero with AB0, but is still like a 3-card 8, which is not good. Especially the second one came after the combo, where I already know I'm kind of out of the woods at this point. So we beat the Acilio. I'm 2-1 going into round 4. Round 4 and 5 of this tournament, I'm going to combine because they were both Prism. There were 2 Prisms in the room, and I was lucky enough to pair into both of them. This is the freest matchup that I think KO has ever had. Like, it was good in heavy hitters, and it got better in Super Slam because our card quality just got so much better, right? Like, I typed this out at one point. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I think it's something like, of my 60 cards, 25 of them are poppers. And of those 25, 15 of them pop Triumph. So my Prism board, I cut Bare Fangs. I bring in Reckless Stampede, Savage Feast, Strongest Survive, Send Packing, Reckless Swing, and 2 Wrecker Romps. So I'm cutting a non-block and bringing in Triumph Popper, Regular Popper, Triumph Popper, Regular Popper, Regular Popper, something that interacts with Angels in a way that Prism really doesn't like, combined with Buckwild as a Triumph Popper, show Triumph Popper, Triumph Popper, Regular Popper, Regular Popper. Like, you're just set up so well. You are statistically likely to see a popper in every hand. Even if you don't, you have Flesh Bag, Savage Sash, Gauntlets of Tyrannical Rex, and Scabskin Leathers, all of which can cover Herald damage. You have the Scabskins to bail you out if you ever get stuck behind the Prism's literal only way to win the game, which is like Arclight Sentinel, Passing Mirage, Soraya. The Prism has to massively high roll to even have a chance at winning this game. And if her massive high roll isn't massive enough, you just sit back, play patient, and say, either, like, if you draw enough go again, you can send face and then claw the passing, or you just do a bunch of blocking and then pitch and claw passing. She has 3 Passing Mirages in the deck, and as soon as all 3 of them are gone, she can't do anything. How does she get around your poppers? She has 1 Halo to do the, like, oh, you blocked my Herald of Triumph with a Buckwild, so I'm going to break Halo and find Figment of Triumph and bring Buckwild down to Foul Pyre. And, like, okay, you got me. Now what? That was it. That was your plan. You did it one time. And then from there, you just keep popping everything or blocking if you can't pop. It's super free. I'm sure, like, Kevin Murphy, who posted on Blue Sky about his 7-1 Prism deck, that his only loss was to the other Prism deck and they're on the same list. Like, maybe a Kevin Murphy has figured out how to make this matchup not like 1090 for Prism, but I feel like it's very, very doomed for Prism. Which, like, cool, great. I love that because I have a local Prism and I hope I find more. So going into round 6, I am 4-1. My only loss was in round 1. So I'm very confident that if I lose this game, I don't top 8. Maybe I come in 9th, but I'm pretty sure this is a win and in. And it is against Arachne Marionette, which is not a matchup that I feel bad about, but I don't feel good about it. Hello, Yapyaka. It is, KO plays well on 2 cards. I can do above rate 2 card lines. If I get 2 cards taken out of my hand and still have, Swing Big, Show of Strength, and a blue, I get to say, cool, 2 card 8. Or Bare Fangs, 2 card 9. I have things that I can do to play through Arachne's Disruption, but Arachne still has enough damage that the Disruption is tied to, lowering my life total, and there are only so many times that I can take 8 damage in a turn and then return 8 until the Arachne starts finding reactions or big Calyssra plays. And as much as KO plays well on 2 cards, he really wants 4 cards to be able to do Blood Rush Bellow or Wild Ride Claw, Swing Big, or something like that. So I feel okay about Marionette. This game started off pretty even. My Arachne opponent, I think, played too defensively. He broke Mask of Deceit on turn 3 to find a Trapdoor instead of Black Widow. I was very afraid of Mask of Deceit into Black Widow, but found the Trapdoor to find Inertia Trap because he thought I was going to Arsenal a Blood Rush Bellow, and he wanted to keep me off of it. I didn't have a Blood Rush Bellow. The Trapdoor was relevant, like getting Inertia Trap mattered, because I would have liked to arsenal something, but I put him on the inertia trap and ended up like pitching a send packing to Gauntlet of Tyrannical Rex instead of being able to arsenal it for a later turn, so it mattered. But it wasn't the big, like, here's Black Widow damage plus disruption that I was expecting. He's playing around this Blood Rush Bellow that I don't have, because in his estimation, the only way KO wins this matchup is by getting a Blood Rush Bellow off. Which I don't agree with, but I don't disagree with. I think KO has other ways to win by throwing enough send packings and strongest survives at the Marionette to take them off of their big turns while pushing damage, especially if the Marionette didn't disrupt you. If you get to do like Wild Ride, Gauntlet, strongest survive, like you're doing a 4-card 14 and also taking cards, or you're doing Wild Ride, Gauntlet send packing for a 4-card 13, 4-card 14 that is taking cards. Like, you can put the Marionette in the same spot that they put you in, but we really just want Blood Rush Bellow. And this is another game where I'm like, hello, Blood Rush Bellow, please, I need you. A lot of it is have value and make sure their mark isn't free when possible. We have enough armor that we can put it in the way of it. You can even block a Hunter's Clave with armor if you really need to. So I agree with you. I think my Arachne was too defensive early, trying to play around this Blood Rush that didn't exist. And then was too defensive late. My opponent started like really blocking out full turns, giving me entire hands worth of cards on defense. When they were at like 18 and I'm at 11, and their hands were not bricky. It wasn't like, oh, you just drew 4 reactions and no dagger. You drew 4 attacks and have no go again. It wasn't anything like that. It was like, we talked about it after. Their plan was to run me out of go again. It counted, I had played 2 Buck Wilds, I had played some Wild Rides. They just thought that I was going to start drawing these hands that couldn't convert. Like, if Arachne just prevents damage, I'll draw blue, swing big Bear Fangs, and find myself in a position where I can't convert hands. What they didn't expect is that once they start blocking out is when I started finding Blood Rush Bellow, and you know what a really good way to convert a hand is for above rate is Blood Rush Bellow. So they basically played it too slow and let me catch up because I started to find the good cards. I misblocked at one point around an obvious Tarantula Toxin. I should have blocked with another card from my hand to say, okay, either you're T-Toxing me and dealing no damage, or you're arsenaling the T-Tox, and now I know you have a T-Tox in arsenal, which I can play around. So I ended up going to 1, which is obvious danger territory. The Arachne had blocked with Flick Knives at that point, so I wasn't like dead. I don't just lose on the spot if I can't find damage prevention that doesn't exist in my deck, but any reaction that I'm not expecting kills me. I end up correctly blocking around the obvious T-Tox, which they arsenal. I still have my Savage Sash, so I get to break Savage Sash, pitch yellow for the Wild Ride in my hand, discard a 6 off the top that isn't Bear Fangs, send 6 go again into Bear Fang. Sorry, it was Wild Ride from hand into Bear Fangs from arsenal. Hitting both times, not dying to a Beast Within off the top for a 4-card 15 that ends up, or a 3-card 15 that ends up getting there. So we barely get there. End up as, with a 5-1 record, I'm 4th seed going into the top 8. My top 8 game is against a Kasai. I do the same board, which is Beaten Trackers, Savage Feast, Strongest Survive, Reckless Stampede. And this Kasai had a much better deck for killing KO, which means that they are just converting 4 cards every turn, constantly resetting Dynamo, pushing a ton of damage. As the higher seed, I got to choose to go second. My opening hand was 2 block blue, 2 block blue, Bear Fangs, Reckless Stampede. My 4-card hand blocks 4. Kasai pushes 4 damage, keeps an arsenal. I had blocked with my 2 blues. I draw into a Show of Strength and another Reckless Stampede, so I get to send a 3-card 8 on turn 1, which really set me up for failure. From then, I don't see any Blood Rush Bellow until the very end of the game when it's too late to actually fire it off. I did get a very cool turn of Wild Ride, randomly discard Beast Within to find Show of Strength with a Strongest Survive in hand. I break Beaten Trackers so I can Wild Ride, Mandible Claw, Accel Sword, Show of Strength, Strongest Survive, like a ton of damage. It just wasn't enough at that point. I was too far behind. The Kasai still had all of her armor, still had a healthy life total. I mean, I lost this game with Kasai still at 6 with armor available. It was not a good game for me. This is off the back of the Kasai's deck being a little better tuned, drawing an early Blood Follows Blade to get 9 value out of the Accel Sword, 6 damage, and then I have to put 3 into it to kill it. She saw 3 Unsheathed, which just really started her off with go again. Like, nothing that was too crazy from Kasai, just like showing, oh hey, here's really the floor of the deck, as long as you're drawing a piece of go again every turn. I boarded in my Tear Limbs, but never saw them. Never saw a Blood Rush, so that made me adjust the Kasai plan, which is I need to play more defensive. I need to play towards find and then play as many Blood Rushes as I can, which it sucks. I don't want to take the game long against Kasai because she has Dynamo, so the longer the game goes, the more value she gets out of her boots. But if my real only way of winning this game is Blood Rush, I need to have more life to play with, so we're talking bring in Reckless Swing and Wrecker Romps instead of Tear Limbs so that my average block value goes up, bringing in Scabskin Leathers instead of Beaten Trackers so I get 2 more life to play with. I still think I would bring in Savage Feast, Strongest Survive, and Reckless Stampede, but the Stampede is a little interesting. Maybe I'm supposed to bring Send Packing instead for the 3 points of block value and an effect that Kasai now needs to care about because she converts hands much better. She doesn't really want to be blocking with her 3 blocks. But the Kasai took us out, and the Kasai went on to win the whole tournament. So I can't feel as bad about losing to first place, but it does suck to just miss the Nats invite. So that's the recap. What is, I called this planning session. What does planning mean? Well, it means that I am going to evaluate now my 2 losses and determine what that means going forward. So this is Fablazing. It is a really cool site. I really like it. I use it for, let's make this smaller based on the chat. Oh man, hey Steven. I use this for all of my deck building decisions now. It's not like a hard and fast rule that I need to use the data because a lot of time this draws from Talishar data. I'd like to believe that I am a better player than the average Talishar player, but it's really great to inform decisions. So I'll use matchup analysis. We'll walk through it together. I use matchup analysis, classic constructed. This is using Talishar data. I am evaluating the KO versus, I just need to check my history, Gravy Bone. So let's look at Kasai first. KO Kasai. Over the last 30 days, we'll touch additional filters in just a bit, but we analyze the matchup. I need to let the matchup analysis go through before I can start using additional filters, which I get for being a Fablazing subscriber on Metafy, so you too can get this information. I am keeping low played KO cards because I want to see if Talishar KOs are cooking, but I will remove the weird chaff from Kasai. I will also enable advanced card impact analysis. It's going to give us a little more data, which we'll look at. We reanalyze the matchup. And once this is finished computing, we're going to see that the KO Kasai matchup is not good for KO at all. It is a very bad matchup. We are 41% to win overall, and like 12 of that comes from going second. We really need to go second if we play against Kasai. It's like backbreaking if you don't. So we're already in a bad spot. Let's look at equipment first. I am just purely sorting by win rate here, and we're going to see some of the frequency. Keeping these low frequency cards might not tell us much. Like, I cannot believe that Hide Tanner gives us a 100% to win against Kasai, especially because one person played Hide Tanner one time and won that game, which I'm assuming is off the back of something else. But what we can see is a card like Scabskin Leathers gives us a 43.1% average win rate versus Beaten Trackers, which gives us almost 4% less. And this informs a few decisions. One, it confirms what I thought, which is, well, we just want more health from Scabskin Leathers. Two, if we're boarding out Beaten Trackers, we might not want Savage Feast, and that gives us a little more sideboard inventory to play with. Keeping Gauntlet, Scowling Fleshbag, Savage Sash. The only thing that I would be looking at is my board has Vandal Spring Tunic in it. If we thought we really want to take the game longer, maybe Spring Tunic becomes better, but the life gain from Savage Sash plus the Blood Rush Bellow potential, 41.4% average win rate versus 33.3. Like, aside from Leathers over Trackers, I feel much better. I feel great about the rest of my equipment. Going to look at the cards. We're going to do the same thing. More health is always positive. That's against Kasai. That's what I'm thinking. So we sort cards by win rate. And again, we've got some weird ones here where Battlefront Bastion has showed up 6 times. Red Vigorous Smash Up has showed up 11 times. So I'm not trusting all of this data just because there is not enough to say, like, Vigorous Smash Up Red is the secret sauce. For all I know, the same person tried it 11 times against a new Kasai. Like, I can't really speak to that. But the other reason we have impact analysis up is because it will also tell us here, strongly prioritize playing Vigorous Smash Up over blocking with it. We get a 25% higher win rate if we play versus pitch. We get a 77.8% higher win rate if we play versus block, which to me says the advantage of Vigorous Smash Up is not the text, it's the fact that it is a 3 for 7. At that point, it could be anything else. Maybe it should be Massacre instead. The impact analysis helps with telling me this could be anything else. Battlefront Bastion has a 25.6% effect on our win rate. But we can't... the data, unfortunately, is incomplete. I assume this is from pitching rather than playing. I mean, we can see here the same person who is winning with the card is pitching it rather than blocking with it. So it could be any blue. Whereas Cast Bones, that's a great point. We scroll down, we see Cast Bones only gives a 0.3% win rate, a 0.4% win rate over the average. But what's really important is we're now comparing Cast Bones to, if you scroll all the way down, Tear Limb from Limb. And Tear Limb doesn't even get a bunch of points from playing it. We get the same value from playing or pitching, which says Tear Limb doesn't even matter the text really, just being a blue. So, to Shifty Prince's point, Tear Limb is not the tech I'm looking for. Cast Bones is the tech I'm looking for against Kasai. And if we're playing towards Cast Bones, it gives us another power card in the deck that also reinforces that we want to bring in Scabskin Leathers for the block value. We are looking to find Blood Rush Bellow or Cast Bones. That's how we're beating Kasai. We're not racing her. We're not outvaluing her. We're going over the top of what she can defend. And if we do it enough times, fast enough, that's how we kill her. Cast Bones and Blood Rush Bellow both let us convert hands, which is why we don't need Beaten Trackers to give us the action point back, because we should already have an action point. Aside from that, there isn't a ton here that is too surprising. We had a card like Vigorous Smash Up Yellow gives a positive win rate, which I would think, oh, because we can block and Kasai isn't winning clashes. But we see the same thing from Vigorous Smash Up Yellow that we saw from the red, which is the most value we get from Smash Up comes from playing it rather than blocking. The important part of Vigorous Smash Up is that it is an attack, not that it gives us the vigor, and that can influence some deck building. Specifically, I'm looking at the fact that Yellow Buckwild actually gives a higher win rate than Vigorous Smash Up, and we get more value from playing it rather than pitching or blocking. So where Vigorous Smash Up is a 3 for 6 without Go Again, Yellow Buckwild is a 3 for 6 with Go Again, and that's going to help in some other matchups as well. Aside from that, like Josh says, there are like a few cards here that look a little interesting just on their face until we look at their impact analysis. Yellow Bear Fangs is better for pitch than for playing. Well, okay, so then it could be any yellow, and it could be a yellow that blocks. Reckless Swing, primarily for pitch value. It could be any blue. Give them a Piece of Your Mind. It's just a 2 for 5. This one's a little interesting because Kasai also wants the vigor and has armor. I think this might be one of those, well, it has been played 15 times, and most of its win rate comes from being pitched rather than being played. So maybe the impact analysis is wrong. Thick Hide Hunter just makes a moderate difference and ends up getting pitched more than played or blocked with. So I'm not like thinking this is the big piece. Authority of Ataya being a 10% win rate jump is really interesting, especially when we're looking at Reckless Swing being used more for pitch than play. And then like Josh said, we've got the Clash of Agility. This is, again, very infrequent. Wow, weird how blocking with it is better. What the Clash can say is it's a 3 for 6. It's a 2 for 6. It gives us agility. It lets us convert hands. We care more about agility against Kasai than vigor. On Buckwild Yellow, pretty much just Florence List from the Fab channel. I am also, we're jumping ahead, but I am also putting Yellow Buckwild into my sideboard for next week, or this coming weekend, over the Vigorous Smash-Up because of Kasai and what we're about to see from Gravy. But the Clash of Agility is interesting. I could see toying around with that as well, but I'm a little hesitant to do it because of what we're going to see from Gravy Bones, which I will run now. Using the handy-dandy history feature on fablazing.com/DFG. There's a link to it in the video description below. You can also use the data command in chat. So, against Kasai, against Gravy, we are running the same analysis using Talishar data over the last 30 days, KO versus Gravy Bones. I have omitted the weird Gravy cards, but I am keeping the weird KO cards because I want to see if Talishar KOs are cooking. Advanced card impact analysis. We can see, again, bad win rate for KO. 39.8% average. It gets a little better if we go second, but not that much. Look at equipment first. We're not playing Skullhorn against Gravy. This is, again, why the data needs context, and you can't just blindly follow the data. Skullhorn does actual nothing against Gravy Bones. I don't know why the draw discard was so important in 3 out of 4 games. We're not playing Skullhorn against Gravy. But what is interesting about this is that Crown of Providence is so much higher than Scowling Fleshbag. It's a 10% win rate jump using Crown versus Fleshbag. And I did get a good Fleshbag in my game against Gravy round 1. I denied 1 point of value from a Prismatic Leyline by banishing a Conquer the High Sea from hand, and the Gravy had a defense reaction in Arsenal, so ended up taking an intellect penalty. I think Clash is reflective of how up the creek you are when you don't have enough Go Again in a game of bad draws. Skullhorn is fixing hands. You're so right. Steven, I think Yellow Buckwild and Clash of Agility share a slot. Like a 2 for 6 that doesn't do anything on offense is not where I want to be. But Oh, I do get a might, you're so right. But you're right that the go again is important against Kasai. Where we're going to see it not being important is against Gravy. So Crown of Providence being here is sort of what I was talking about before, where I took Crown out because I didn't respect Florian. What I didn't think about is how good it is against Gravy, because you get to ignore the first Conqueror of the High Seas. Apex Bonebreaker being high up here makes sense too. You're setting up a might so that you can like clear a chum or a swabby or whatever through Fearless Confrontation. Confirms that Beaten Trackers is the correct call over Scabskin Leathers. What's interesting here is Fandal's Spring Tunic has a little under a 2% win rate jump than Savage Sash. It speaks to taking the game long, being able to block like Conqueror or Gold-Baited Hook, Sawbones, or Rigger for 6, and then being able to send something like Wild Pitch Blue, Wild Ride Face, Activate Tunic, Mandible Claw, Sawbones. It's a small enough difference over a small enough frequency that it doesn't jump out to me as like, this is correct. Crown of Providence over Scowling Fleshbag is like, whoa, I have been playing this wrong. Fleshbag was the wrong call. But the Tunic is a little, they're Gambler's Gloves. I should test with Tunic, but if I had to play a Gravy in an RTN today, I'm still bringing in Savage Sash. Looking at cards, we'll sort by win rate. I don't know why Erase Face is so high, especially with a not insignificant. I guess 13 out of 530 is pretty insignificant. I don't know what Erase Face does to Gravy that the Gravy cares about, because Gravy doesn't do anything based on being a pirate. I guess... Does Dead Threads? Dead Threads doesn't care about Necromancer. Oh, I guess it turns off Gold-Baited Hook, which is kind of interesting. I would not have expected Erase Face to be so impactful. I don't know. I don't think I'm playing Erase Face anyway, and it isn't enough against Gravy where I'm like, yeah. Give him a piece of your mind doesn't have enough data to know if I should be pitching it or playing it, but the pitch rate here is so much higher. Makes me think, well, this could be any blue. Yellow Pulping, I should be consider it for pitch value. I was going to say maybe Avast is the other one. You're right. And Loot the Hold. There are enough cards from Gravy that care about being a pirate that I can see the value of Erase Face. Yellow Pulping could be any yellow. But having unconditional go again against allies is interesting. No Fear is an interesting one. Low frequency, but it can stop a Conqueror. If you do it at a high enough damage threshold, you could stop a Gold-Baited Hook or a Loot the Hold. So No Fear is kind of interesting. Rough Up is a low enough frequency that I feel like it is not worth considering. It's basically a 2 for 7 that can block 3, and the 3 block is pretty cool. We also see Rough Up being used primarily for block value. Strongest Survive Yellow has never once attacked. Authority of Ataya is another, makes another repeat performance that I think, okay, yeah, I should be playing this card. Savage Feast, Bare Fangs is effective on play or pitch. There's nothing really about Gravy that's jumping out to me as a card that I should be playing that I am not currently playing. But, and I guess until we get down to Yellow Buckwild, which I was already looking at, what's interesting about Gravy is when we start to get down to the cards that are negatively impacting our win rate. Cards like Reckless Stampede, which I would have expected, but here we see Vigorous Smash Up again. It actually lowers our win rate. The reason being that you can't clash with allies. Vigorous Smash Up against Kasai got more value being played than blocked with, because we don't want to block with attacks. It doesn't do well against Gravy because we can't clash with allies. So what this is telling us is we should cut Vigorous Smash Up. If we're trying to target the games that we're losing, the heroes we lost to, Kasai and Gravy, Vigorous Smash Up can get cut. Tear Limb from Limb can get cut. It wasn't good against Gravy, or against Kasai. It isn't good against Gravy. What was good against Kasai is Cast Bones. And what we want to be targeting, Tear Limb is essentially targeting the same heroes. But Cast Bones blocks, it's good against Guardian, and it is better against Kasai. So what all of this is to say, using all of this information from fablazing.com/GFG, is we head back over to our KO list, and we update the version. We can check this in the version tab. These are the changes I've made going into week 2. We're cutting Skullhorn because I'm disrespecting Verdance. I'm cutting Vigorous Smash Up because it isn't good against the heroes that I need to be targeting. And we're cutting Tear Limb from Limb because it isn't good against the heroes I need to be targeting. We're putting Crown of Providence in because it gives us a massive win rate jump against Gravy Bones. We're putting Cast Bones in because it's much better than Tear Limb against Kasai. It gives us an extra win con, and it also hits the same heroes that Tear Limb is meant to hit, which are the Guardians. We're bringing in Yellow Buckwild because it is as effective as Vigorous Smash Up is as a Yellow Pitch, but it is also much better at dealing damage to Kasai and Gravy and having go again. And we're putting in Authority of Ataya because it hits those heroes that we need to be hitting. It's a 10% win rate jump against Kasai. It was, 7% against Gravy. So we've got matchups. You can see, use the deck link in the video description. Also use the deck command, which I really hope links to KO on Fabry. If it doesn't, let me put this in chat. But we'll just very quickly walk through it. Because I also have to go to a work meeting in 2 minutes, unfortunately. Against Marionette, we're doing basically the same board. I am choosing to play Authority of Ataya instead of Reckless Swing because Marionettes are on 6 to 8 defense reactions. This one I'm a little less certain about. Reckless Swing might just be better. It does block, even though I have to give up a card from hand. Marionettes can also put themselves low enough that you just kill them with Reckless Swing. We're not playing Pulping because of the defense reactions. We're not playing Stampede because it doesn't block. Massacre is too slow. Cast Bones is too slow. Fleshbag matters against a deck with attack reactions, although Crown of Providence is still very good. Beaten Trackers because we're playing Savage Feast. This is a race. Strongest Survive because Arachne doesn't play very many big attacks. You can get them with the Strongest Survive effect, especially if they have no attacks in hand. And Send Packing because Arachnes are going to arsenal things and you want to disrupt them. Big one, Gravy Bones. We're playing Crown of Providence instead of Scowling Fleshbag because we care more about preventing the Conqueror effect than we do against trying to stop whatever comes after the Conqueror, especially if Gravy has an ally on board. Still playing Savage Sash because I don't really trust the data on Spring Tunic. We do have the 2 Buckwilds here, which are going to come in clutch. We're playing Authority of Ataya because Gravies are usually on 5 to 6 defense reactions, and the data supports it over Reckless Swing. I've heard bad things about Strongest Survive. From the Gravy perspective, they're happy to just discard an ally. Reckless Stampede doesn't block, and I want to be able to stop Conquerors. Massacre is too slow. Cast Bones is too slow. Against Kasai, we have another one informed by the data. Bringing in Cast Bones. Still bringing in Reckless Stampede and Strongest Survive. I'm not 100% on the Reckless Stampede. Like I said, maybe this should just be Send Packing. Savage Feast could probably be in the deck, but we had to make room for Cast Bones somehow, so could be something I want to experiment with. Pulping gets stuffed by Oliver D. React. Massacre is too slow. And like we said, Beaten Trackers just seems to be worse than Scab Skins. In the mirror, we board for low defense reaction aggro. Trackers comes in, Savage Feast comes in. We're playing Pulping. We are playing Send Packing because KOs are likely to arsenal. Strongest Survive just gets either stuffed by block with armor, show a 6, or don't block at all, show an 8. Reckless Stampede is a toss-up. Massacre and Cast Bones are too slow. And Authority is not good against a hero that doesn't play defense reactions. Against Acilio, we feel great about our sideboard plan. Beaten Trackers plus Savage Feast. Strongest Survive is always a hit. Pulping is potentially bad. Acilios are playing defense reactions. The problem with send packing against Acilio is that they will often Arsenal instance. So if you send packing, they can respond to the trigger by playing a Sigil from Arsenal, and then you're just sad. And against Victor, the other highly represented deck at my RTN, which maybe it isn't at yours, in which case you can ignore this, we're playing Cast Bones, we're playing Pulping against a low defense reaction deck. We're playing Send Packing because they have to respect it in some way. Strong to Survive again gets covered by armor and showing a 6 from hand. Savage Feast doesn't come in because we are playing with Scabskin Leathers. Reckless Stampede doesn't block, it is a toss-up. Massacre is maybe okay, but we're bringing Cast Bones instead. And then leaving Ataya out. So I, unfortunately, do need to run. It's been fun hanging out with all of you. I'll be back on Thursday, starting at 8 a.m., hopefully for an hour. Hopefully for 2 hours, depending on my real-life day job meeting schedule. But thank you all for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments or in chat if you liked this sort of content, me just going through the motions of here's my recap, here are the decks I lost to, let's analyze those matchups, how can I make them better, let's iterate based on that. This is the sort of thing that I do on my own time, so if you liked it here, then I'm happy to keep doing it. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, rest of your week until Thursday. Oh, I do need to tell you, I am doing a thing. You can watch my stream on Friday. Be here on Friday because I am doing a giveaway, which is here. I'm giving away an Arachne Armory deck. And all you need to do is watch the stream. You're going to enter through chat. It's going to be totally free. You don't have to like, subscribe, or follow. You just need to be here. I'll run a giveaway using Nightbot. I'll get your contact information, your Discord handle from you in chat, and then DM you on Discord. So if you want an Arachne Armory deck, also specifically be here at 9:30. Like if you got stuff going on Friday morning, like don't worry about it. Just show up at 9:30. You'll enter for free, and then maybe you can win an Arachne Armory deck. So yeah, on Friday. But hopefully you're here on Thursday too, because I'm streaming and I like streaming for all of you, a full house. So thank you all for being here. Seeing some of you liked it, which I'm super happy about. I will catch you all again on Thursday. And until then, have a great rest of your week and take care.